Hey, this is Sandy.
And Randy.
And we're here on AT Corner.
Being an athlete trainer comes with ups and downs, and we're here to showcase it all.
Join us as we share our world in sports medicine.
Welcome back to another episode of AT Corner. For this week's episode, we have an interview about a setting where I think the population is often overlooked.
Very overlooked.
Actually, both populations on what we kind of talked about are kind of overlooked, I'd say.
Yes, and what I really like about this interview is I feel like Kylie does a really great job of talking about how similar drum corps is to traditional sports and the things that we kind of understand. Mm-hmm. And then also even club sports and how similar they are. So even though like they are different entities, mm-hmm. they're still a lot of the same things that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the cool thing with the, especially with the drum corps stuff, because it not being necessarily a traditional, dude, I remember seeing them when I was younger, man. They're out there in the heat. They're out there for hours a day. Like it's an active body. Like they are doing intense things. So absolutely.
And it's not easy.
No. So absolutely you need an AT there. So I thought it's always nice to hear that perspective and just hear how that emerging setting continues to grow.
Absolutely. Do you want to introduce Kylie?
Yes. So our guest is Kylie Robbins. She received her bachelor's in exercise science and master's in athletic training, both from Marshall University. Go Herd. She's been...
One of my football players was wearing a Marshall University sweatshirt today.
And did it say Go Herd?
Actually, it didn't, which is why I don't think I would have made the connection, except that when you said Go Herd, the guys were talking about it today.
Oh, see, there you go.
And so because his sweater was, they were talking about how it's like not branded, but it's like totally branded because it's got the green, like, what is that thing?
Well, I've always seen it like the green M.
No, like the mascot.
The Thundering Herd? The buffalo? Is it a buffalo?
Buffalo?
Bison.
Is it a bison? Maybe. Kylie, please let us know. Obviously, I'm not up to date on my Marshall University, but yeah, that was totally a side track.
For sure. Kylie has been certified for 6 years. She's worked with Upstate Orthopedics Pediatric Orthopedic Unit, Mooresville University, Wells College, Red Lion High School, and currently with the Bluecoats and Penn State University Club Sports.
We had so much fun with this episode, and honestly, I think there's so much to take away from it, even if you're never going to work with drum corps or club sports in your life. But it gives you a newfound appreciation for a lot of those things. So let's hear from Kylie. You want to get started?
Yeah, so kicking it off with some nice cryo breakers. First one is, what athletic training tool, and this could be a tape, brace, rehab, etc., that describes you as a clinician?
So I think that I would be manual therapies, only because I feel like us as athletic trainers are the Swiss Army knives of healthcare, and we have to be ready for literally everything. And me as an athletic trainer, I try to channel my artistic athletic trainer whenever I can, thinking outside of the box, constantly working with non-traditional athletes, things of that nature. And I feel like my brain and my hands, my brain and my elbows, my brain and my knee combined, I can be quite literally versatile for anything I want to accomplish. So I would say manual therapy.
I like that mind-body connection you made.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Hands, the most important tools, some would argue.
Correct. Yeah, you don't need granted, is it nice to have like the expensive X5, the expensive modality that like to do that one individual thing maybe a bit faster than what your hands could do? Sure, yes, but that doesn't mean that your therapies and rehabs and stuff are any less important or great when you don't have those expensive items. So,
well, I mean, that's exactly what you said. You said it's a luxury.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Back to the basics. So here on AT Corner, we really like to pair evidence and experience. So if you could help us kick this episode off with a story or experience, case study, something about working with drum corps or club sports.
So personally for me, I think when it comes to my non-traditional athletes versus my traditional athletes. I've been in both realms, from pediatric orthopedics to high school to D3, D1, D2, D3. I would say that maybe this is a little less evidence-based, but I think athletic trainers would really appreciate it, is that my non-traditional athletes, not saying that my traditional athletes aren't grateful. I feel like athletic training is a very thankless job. So a lot of the times we're doing because it's expected. And it's just like, all right, yep, Kylie did that. But I would say that my non-traditional realms, my athletes aren't receiving that care regularly, nor do they really know how to use it often. So I'm constantly having to educate. But I feel like they're so grateful. I feel like that's one thing that most of my athletic trainers and interns would say, was that like, wow, it was a breath of fresh air to be thanked because I gave them a heat pack, or like, I gave them I put a Band-Aid on, I cleaned a wound, and I, put it in, like they said that they would never leave the training room without being thanked for something. And that was really refreshing for them as interns as well. So like I said, not saying that my traditional athletes don't say thank you and I'm not able to build those relationships, but something comes along with like the brand of Kylie as an athletic trainer and the brand of like whoever else I bring on under me as an athletic trainer, and to be thanked for being the Kylie athletic trainer is really nice. And sometimes it's followed up with someone being excited that I'm doing an extra surprise leg on tour and they just like light up like fireworks, or someone writes me a note when they're in their age out season and like brings you to tears. It's just like the stuff you don't, you just do because you're there to help. But then people realize it's like you're going above and beyond to make sure that they're taken care of. So anyways, I would say the appreciation is nice.
A simple thank you does go a long way sometimes.
Yeah. Can make your day like that. It's like that good cup of coffee. You spend that $5 or $6, like not knowing what you're gonna get, and then you know what I mean. It's just like, you said thank you.
Well, for them also, like that's so unexpected for them to have that level of care, even at a base level of something that we think is like so like foundational or something that we just provide, is something that's so beyond what they expect.
Yeah, exactly. But like making it like, why does non-traditional settings have to be an emerging setting? Like, why can't it just be a setting? Why can't they just have this care? Right. And I want to normalize that for them, and I want it to be expected. Like, no, when you hit your head with the rifle or whatever, and you had a headache for a while, and they told you that you were being soft, that no, you had a headache because you were injured. Like, and there's a way to take care of this. Now, granted, are there some there's like kind of like grievances with having to go through the concussion protocol, because that's also something that they're like, why can't I just go back in? Like, I don't have a headache after 3 days, So it's just the educational piece too. But I think once they get it, they get it. And it's always met with kindness. It's not like, what the heck, you don't know anything, why aren't you putting me back in? It's, okay, fair, I get it, I now understand, and I want to take care of my body to be ready for finals, things like that.
So tying into that, you've already kind of mentioned like drum corps. What is that? And like you said, it's viewed as like an emergent setting. So why do they need ATs?
Great. Yes. So drum corps is a variety of marching music ensembles, I would say ranging to compare to our traditional settings like D1, D2, D3. We have our umbrella, which is like our NCAA, which only governs, it's called DCI, so Drum Corps International is like our NCAA umbrella. And then we have D1, D2, D3, open class, world class, all age class underneath there. But we're marching music ensembles that essentially go through a pretty rigorous spring training where we prep for your traditional game day, but that's our performances. So we do like a 6-week spring training, kind of like your football would do, to prep for their first game. 14-hour days, various types of, let's say, activity throughout the day, considering what section you're in. But ultimately being treated like your traditional athlete. If there's lightning, we're coming in. If the wet bulb globe's in the black, we're not practicing outside. but then we, go on a 6-week world tour, and then we have finals at the end of the season. So it's like our competition season. And anyways, that's just at least a brief descriptor. But a lot of the things that we are doing, for example, like we need the hand-eye coordination like soccer or basketball. We need the endurance like your long distance runner, because we're, up and down a field, different paces, kind of like your staggered running, like the jog, walk, run, sprint, type of stuff. So ultimately, we're seeing traditional injuries and things just happening in non-traditional ways. So why not needing an athletic trainer? I mean, it just makes the most sense when you kind of like put it hand in hand in that way. I think they're just playing instruments and moving around. But when you pick up on the technicalities of it, I think it makes sense. So I think that is why we need athletic trainers, because we're out there in the elements, we're doing the rigorous exercise, we're comparing ourselves to traditional sports. So yeah, why wouldn't we need sports medicine?
For sure. Hey, it's a body in motion.
Yes.
Well, also, if you think about any of the wind, if you think of any of the instruments, you think of the wind instruments and the lung capacity they have to have while they're moving. And then you think about like the drums that they're holding and like the stress on their low back or the stress on where the harness sits, or we could go through each one probably.
Well, and there's also like those intricate things that do occur because of the apparatus that they are carrying. Like, so for example, more specifically that I can think of, just because it happened more recently, but on tour, not because they're malnourished, they're just working out all day. So they, they get kind of like that tour body. They slim down, they get skinny, not because they are malnourished. I want to very, very much like stress that. They're just working out 14 hours a day and doing nothing but. So from that, certain bony prominences become more prominent. So then when something is like pressed up against or rubbing on, it could cause more friction than normal. So, for example, like one summer, we were having some ASISs being rubbed on the drum harness. And so we were having to manage, finding a way to tactfully clean their harness, because it doesn't come apart it doesn't come apart like clothing, like you'd rip out the inside and like wash the sleeve or anything like that. So we had to figure out how to clean that, keep their hips clean while also not structurally moving the harness to a way that it would like affect their drumming, while also trying to prevent lifelong scarring from happening, whether it be like just from scarring in general, but like to other ethnicities that like scarring does become relatively permanent. So anyways, I could go on and on and on, but like, exactly that. The different harnesses and things that they carry, someone moves just the wrong way in the formation, bonking somebody on the back of the head, a big gust of wind pushes through one of our big props and gets somebody while they're not looking, being prepared to like come out. Our prop crew is amazing at making sure that like the things that we use are smooth and put together well structurally to hold people and be pushed. But like sometimes there's that few things that just slip through the cracks and someone gets a cut on their hand, so many different variables.
For sure.
Yeah, for something that I think, especially when I've been working in the non-traditional or more of an aesthetic, not that this is totally aesthetic, but like aesthetic artists, people think that like it's so controlled and so predictable that there can't be injuries, because it's not like you're having a reaction time or something to that effect like you would like in soccer, for example. But there are so many elements of it that are, or even if that when they're rehearsing or when they're learning things, or even in something that they know what's going to happen, we still have to be aware of how that movement's happening. And if someone does move a different way, like they do have to react to those things. So there are still injuries and things that nature, even though we're supposed to be quote unquote, everything's supposed to be predictable.
Right. I think too, if you think about it though, like in your traditional football setting, don't they rehearse all of their plays? But it doesn't go as planned every time, hence why a game occurs. Like that's why it's exciting and fun. And not saying that like we want to live life on the edge, but like a lot of the times things aren't fun unless there's a little bit of danger involved. You know what I mean? So if everything was so predictable, it'd be less entertaining.
Yeah.
Right.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're humans, right? There's going to be some human error at some point, as hard
Yes.
as we try.
Exactly. Someone could have just been, maybe they sustained an injury earlier on in the week that they didn't report, and then they're like standing a different way. Yeah, so many different things. Breathes differently, doesn't get enough to lift somebody up. So many things.
Yeah.
Or like the stress for like the EHI stuff, like exertional heat illness stuff, like I've been drinking water. I don't know why I'm feeling so ill today. Well, like we just spent the past week in Texas where I'm like, your body's not acclimated to that. So no matter how much you're drinking, anyways, so many things.
So I really love how you highlighted how many similarities there are with a traditional sports medicine like model. But could you highlight some of like the differences, like maybe things that you have to think about, like we were talking about maybe like lung capacity with some of the wind instruments, or like I briefly worked with a marching band, not to any element as you did, but I had it was very small. I mean, it was a very big company, but a trumpet that she had to take anti-inflammatories because she was I don't know the correct terminology for like playing the trumpet so often that her lips would swell.
Oh,
and so she was like doing anti-inflammatories, and so then we had to educate on like, you can't be taking anti-inflammatories every single day. We have to figure out some other sort of recovery for this. But what are some other things that you have to do differently than a traditional sports med? Because I've never had to deal with that, like with one of my other athletes.
Football guys.
Yeah.
But you never know, like maybe being out in the sun, for a while, their lips start to swell due to like sun exposure. You could potentially pick and pull some really fun things from what you've learned. But I would say the biggest one is the encouragement of my team and my MSAT interns to make sure that they're stable but mobile. Like ultimately, so this person has an ankle sprain. It's not a performing arts ankle sprain. It's an ankle sprain. It just happened in a non-traditional way. It happened to this person who maybe had an ankle sprain before. Anyways, still an ankle sprain. But I would say encouraging them to think stable but mobile. So what's going to stabilize this and provide structural support, but still allow them to do like a plie or a pointed toe or this jump that they need to like step up and push up onto a prop, really be inquisitive about not only the sport that they're playing, but the section specific, the part that they play in the big picture. So I would say stable but mobile is like a big piece, but then even things like you had said with the lip scenario. So providing like ice cups in the freezer, not for what you think. I mean, could be for muscles too, but like so my trumpets can like ice cup massage their lips and providing them gloves, so then they can do like vascular massages up their face. Or I'm trying to think what else. Being able to be versatile and kind of like set up a training room wherever you are and get the job done. So like on tour, we have gymnastics mats that we fold out, and essentially we create a training room outside under a pavilion and we go. So I would say like those are the biggest pieces. But then like I did already touch about concussion protocol just because it's like so prevalent in research right now. But like even being section specific there, like for their acclimated return to play, there are pieces like our rehearsal day is 14 hours long, but there are pieces that they can incrementally participate in throughout the day without fully saying like, nope, you can only participate in 20 minutes of this. And like, that is it. So there are ways for them to safely participate in portions of the day, because ultimately, if they're missing a whole day, it's like missing 3 days of rehearsal. So finding ways to keep them in it with their friends, not hitting that concussion depression. I would say the biggest picture here is just listening to your athletes and making sure that you are being athlete specific, but also section specific.
Kind of along the lines of like you kind of named those differences. What has been like a big challenge working in a setting that maybe hasn't been exposed to ATs very often?
So I would say the biggest piece maybe earlier on, I am in year 5 going on 6 now in the drum corps setting, but I am in year 1 of the club sports setting.
Mhm.
So ultimately I would say it's the education piece. And like we often, like obviously the grievances of like, no, like I do have the education to give you a strength and conditioning program, but like, that's not what I do. But also just like, trying to figure out what we do and then like how it fits and like builds everybody up from there.
Mhm.
I've been encouraging athletic trainers left and right recently after a conversation with my dad, who's the boss for a landscaping company in Lancaster County. He was saying all these things like heat and like wanting to make sure that they're hydrated. I'm like, Dad, just hire an athletic trainer. Like, so I've been telling everybody, like, okay, if that's where you want to work, figure out how you apply and pitch it. Like, figure out how you fit and how you can build the program up and get their buy-in. So essentially that. I feel like people aren't afraid of change. They're afraid of going into it, not having the information to be prepared for it. And honestly, I get it. I hate going into things not knowing all the information to be successful. It's anxiety ridden for me. I don't like that. I've been trying to prepare my staff to know what's up and know what's set in stone. And like, honestly, this year at the drum corps I was at was like the best year yet. And I can't wait to continue making changes and like just building us up. And hopefully we'll get to a point where like I'm doing the exit interviews at the end of the year and they're like, actually, I don't have any constructive criticism to give you. So
you put it really well because especially companies and people who don't normally have an athletic trainer, especially like what you were talking about in the beginning, like they just don't, we talk about this all the time, like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So like how would they know to hire an athletic trainer who has all this knowledge if they don't know what an athletic trainer does? So if you come in and you say, hey, I can do this for you, I can do this for you, I can do this for you, it's going to take so much off of them, but they don't even know that to go looking for that. Sometimes you have to be the one to take that step.
Yes. Don't be afraid of the word no. Like, what's that going to, no. Okay. Thank you. Next opportunity. Like, just don't be afraid of it.
So along those lines of kind of like paving that path, how did you learn to work with drum corps?
I would say I wish I had this come to Jesus moment for it, but it kind of just fell in my lap. So in 2020, I was working for a pediatric orthopedic unit because I was like all I could find because 2020. And then I wanted to move on to the college setting. I just accepted a new job, and my friend was interning at the drum corps that I am now at. And their athletic trainer, their preceptor needed to leave suddenly for 2 weeks to figure out life. They only had one athletic trainer at the time. They did the whole summer, which is a lot. But I was like, man, I just set up my first day at the new job and I don't know. Anyway, so I reached out to my new head athletic trainer. And for some reason, the softball coach there knew what drum corps was and was that drum corps? You have to let her go. You have to let her go. I was like, who is this person? So I did my 2 weeks that year, and I've been there ever since. So
that's awesome.
And that intern now is a certified there with me as well.
Oh, how cool.
Oh my gosh. Circle. Yeah.
Yes. Has been there for 4 years, 4 out of the 5 years. So it's been pretty solid.
That's really cool how just the stars aligned to make that just that perfect, like, yeah, she should go.
Literally, I was like, I don't know how to pitch this because I had never heard of drum corps before. I'd been in marching band, but I was like, there's just like this marching band, I think, and they tour. I was like, I think it's a cool opportunity, and I know we just met, but like, can I go, Dad? Can I go?
So with that, I know you said you were in marching band, but how did you, or maybe you had a little bit of background, but did you have to learn some of the different sections or different like parts of the whole organization?
Yeah, I wouldn't say maybe as intensely as an athletic trainer who's just never experienced marching band before, because I had been around color guard and then obviously baton twirlers and then all the horns and front ensemble and things like that. But like I never got to understand them on a deeper level other than okay, I visually see what they do. But like what do they experience? So for example, on a year-to-year basis, I will have one front ensemble member, maybe two, who their tops of their hands here just they blow up. They look inflamed like this.
Wow.
It looks gnarly. They're like, I don't know what I did. They're like, I've just been practicing. That's all they tell me. And ultimately came to find out it's from them like doing like an immense cram sesh before spring training. And then the tops of their hands get inflamed from like doing all of that, carrying like 3 mallets in their hands and like playing so hard and so fast.
Oh my gosh.
Just like their extensors are just overdone.
Yes, I'm not even kidding. Like a good like 1.5 2 inches off the backside of their hand. I'm like when I wanted to first send it for a picture. I'm like, that's got you punch something. Like
you're lying.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I was like, don't fib to me right now because this is serious. But since I've adapted then like my own way of just handling it, I'm like, all right, random athlete, like come here. Like, so like it's like fluid movement 3 times a day. I have them sleep with I cut non-latex gloves, the fingers off, and I make them wear that with an ace bandage up their forearm while they sleep.
Oh, genius.
Nice.
Sometimes even 2, but like a size smaller than what they would normally wear to like compress the top side. And then if they can handle it, I'll use some like, I don't often like to use KT tape. I feel like sometimes it provides like a false sense of stability, but in this sense, I'd be able to apply it in pieces to the top portion of their hand just while they're playing throughout the day. It would apply some compression down on the top portion of their hand.
Yeah.
But so I would say that like I knew the general, like if it was a jawbreaker, I knew the outer layer of the jawbreaker. But as the years have gone on, I have learned each layer, and it's, I think, made me a better clinician each year. And then I just try to share that craft with my new certifieds, my interns, and hopefully encourage them to be artistic athletic trainers, even in their traditional settings, even if they don't ever come back to drum corps. So,
yeah.
What would you recommend to someone who is interested in working with drum corps?
Yes. So I think there's 2 scenarios here. There's a scenario where the sports medicine program is already built for you. And you kind of walk into a comfortable setting. And I think that's going to be far less than you think. That there's going to be solid structure only because our governing body requires you to have a healthcare professional on the entire summer. And they've since gone on to describe like what specific healthcare professionals that should kind of look like now but it's still a wide variety. So I encourage you to ask the questions you're scared to ask. Set yourself up for success. So if they ask for the EAPs and like the protocols that are written down so that you can either read them or in some cases create them to make sure everybody's on the same page before going in. And then I would encourage you to be optimistic and, like I said, be creative. You may be working with less resources. I'll tell you right now, where we are at the drum corps that I work at in comparison to the first year are like 2 separate instances. It was not all like rainbows and roses in the beginning. It was a lot of advocacy and trusting my craft and continuing to educate as we went from year to year, what didn't work, reevaluating and making it better from year to year, knowing that we are just people and we are not perfect. So I would say that advocate for yourself, ask the questions you're scared to ask. Maybe you're not scared to ask them, and then be an optimistic and artistic athletic trainer as you'll be working potentially with less than your D1 athletic training room. But that doesn't make your protocols and you as a clinician any less important or crucial to the survival of the drum corps to finals. So
For sure.
Can you share a little bit about like each part of, like you were talking about like the baton twirlers or the like, I'm blanking on the name of the people you were just talking about with the mallets.
Front front ensemble.
The front ensemble. Or like, can you kind of go over like the people you would see or like the positions you would see?
Yeah. So baton twirling just recently made like a lick of a comeback in drum corps with with actually the reigning champions this year, which was so cool to see. So traditionally you wouldn't see baton twirlers, are more of like a novelty piece.
Oh, nice.
But you have color guard, which is like the wooden rifle, the saber, and then your flag, and then also other like novelty equipment like streamers and things of that nature. You have your horn line, which a lot of the horns look like bigger and smaller things of each other. So like you're like, man, that's just a bigger trumpet. Like actually, it's euphonium. So, but so you have the horns, then you have the drum line, and then you have front ensemble, and then we have our drum majors. So that's like all the different sections, and then having to be able to apply like all legs of sports medicine to such different positions. I think has challenged my brain in ways that have made me a better clinician outside of drum corps realm as well.
And it sounds like working football or track, where you have just so many different position groups, events, all within one team.
Yes. So someone who is it's just going back into the concussion realm again. It's just like essentially like my drum majors, people are like, oh, they're just waving their hands all day, but they have to have like endurance for that, and like they are out in the sun as well. But just like I said, honing in on the athlete or the sport specific, but also athlete specific items. So.
For sure.
Well, that's the thing is like, so before I started working with marching band, I had seen some of their instruments, but not totally familiar with any of them. And I've never worn any, like the drum set, like the 4 with the symbol on it. And I didn't know that would create a little bit more offset to one side. And so like returning someone who we had to adjust, like maybe we take the symbol off, or we change you to like a 1 set instead of the 4 drums, or you maybe in between, like as you're walking, maybe you can lift up the drums because they fold. And so like things that like some things you just have to learn from talking to them, or even just like learning their equipment or their instrument, because that's something like just from the outside you wouldn't know.
Right. No, I agree. I heard an intern recently that's been exploring non-traditional opportunities, performing arts, drum corps, etc. That was told that they're not going to have success in these non-traditional internship opportunities if they don't know the lingo. But I don't think that's true. Like, we can talk the same language. We're just going to say 2 different funny, fancy words. So like, did your ankle, which we all know, go like this? Yes. Okay. Like, we can get to the same thing, and you can teach me the lingo as we go, which is what I had to learn. I wasn't I didn't spin flag. I played clarinet. There's no clarinets in drum corps. Like, so there's things that we can learn on the fly. It just takes some optimism and some artistic navigation within our conversations to get to the same point. I think we can still be successful without immediately coming in and having that experience, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I agree. Because like kind of in a more traditional setting, like working a sport like track, I never ran track, right? But I worked it for years, and I never felt that because I didn't come from it, I never got respect or like they shied away from me, because I feel like if you just show a willingness to learn their environment and what they're doing, I feel like they're all in, and they actually love to talk about it and like help you out too.
Well, I feel like that's exactly what I was going to say, is like you have to take, like in some books, like you have to take the L. You have to be a novice. You have to say, I don't know, which is so scary for some people, because like otherwise, like, and I could say the same thing. Like, I didn't play football. Like, I had no idea what I was doing when I first stepped on the field, but you have to learn things. Like when the first time my O-line coach said, like a double team. And I was like, can you explain to me what that is? Because if even like there's two thoughts. You could either be like, oh, I'm coming in and I know all this, but, or you can come in and say, I don't know, but I want to learn. And you're going to get so much further if you don't fake it till you make it.
For sure.
Yes. Because they'll be able to see through it too. You know what I mean? Like when you get that like side eye, like it doesn't just happen when they don't know the big medical words that you're saying. But I think
they see right through you.
Right. I'm like, why are you judging me right now?
And then you lose trust. Like that's not, but you gain so much more rapport if you're showing them a willingness. To want and also to know what their demands are.
Oh, sorry. I think also to show up when you say you're going to show up. So for example, if you don't know and you say, hey, I'm going to look into this tonight and then re-inform you tomorrow when I have a better grasp on this after talking with Team Doc and maybe doing a little bit of research. Like this, like for example, this year I had my first interaction with intersection syndrome. Like, and when you close your eyes and they say like, oh, it feels like how a creaky door sounds. I'm like, yeah. We're in school. Like, yeah, creaky door. Like, no, when I tell you that, like, I can't, like, I can't explain it any other way. But I was like, what is this? Anyways, but it took some like research on a nightly basis for me to make sure that I was tackling it the right way while also doing potentially 14 hours of rehearsal in a day. Anyways. But agreed. Like, so I think also showing up when you say you're going to show up is great about building that rapport and relationships. You can say you don't know and you don't have to know everything and you can still do research and continuously be a lifelong learner, even as a clinician.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to transition to club sports?
Yeah, I was going to say, so along with your work with drum corps, you also mentioned that you work club sports at a university, which I feel like is a growing setting. I feel like that's getting a lot more popular. How does that, like, what similarities and differences does club sports have with your kind of traditional sports setting?
Yes. So I think club sports, potentially, they are often happening at higher institutions when they're provided athletic trainers. So, you see this like D1 level varsity athletics happening and they're like, oh, they're just club sports. But the thing is, what's the same there is that they're both sports. So like, what does it matter the level that they're competing at? Like they're both sports. So being just like elaborating a little bit on that, being a non-traditional athlete myself and actually being in an underserved realm, I actually find a lot of fulfillment in serving the underserved. Just because, like I said, they are a bit more grateful. It's not expected. They do seek you out, I think, for the right reasons once educated. So I would say that similarities are that they are both sports and oftentimes are competing at D2 and D3 levels. So actually, if you look up club basketball, my organization is deemed one of the best out there competing at like that D2 level. So my ice hockey team is competing against D1 level and they actually have been required to get physicals for the past several years because they've been competing against D1 level athletes from other D1 institutions. So anyways, I would say similarities, yes, or that they are just all sports. So why don't they deserve care?
Actually, that's a really good point. I guess I never really thought about it because we have one technically club sport at my college where I work. But we do have them do all the same medical eligibility as the rest of the sports, but do you guys have a governing body or something that says like everyone needs a certain medical eligibility?
So that's a really great question. And as I started the program, I had reached out to several other club sports programs with athletic trainers, some from one and just starting to others that are getting their third athletic trainer for club sports.
Wow.
Crazy. Awesome. So great for them though. Like they're doing amazing. But the one thing that I did gather was from club sport program to club sport program, everything was immensely different in the things that they were able to accomplish. Wow. Because there isn't a governing body over like us specifically. Now, each club sport does have an organization that they compete under, but it's like for their own sport.
That makes sense.
So they have requirements like boxing's required to get physicals, hockey's required to get physicals, but like my table tennis group, like, you know, maybe not. They're not required, but like with me being added into the mix and there being so many athletes to take care of, I have established that baseline that physicals are required. And that was a new piece. I was new this year, but that was also like a big new piece. But yeah, so we don't have a governing body, which makes it difficult as we form this. I've been trying to base everything off of NATA gold standard items and how traditional practice is held and comparing our athletes to D2 and D3 level athletes and the things that they're required to do. But doing something like a simple change, like, okay, well, I'm going to require them to get a physical, but we're going to require them to get their sickle cell tests done, but I am going to have them report on the physical and the self-reported questionnaire, whether or not they know that they have it or not.
Yeah.
I need that baseline for when they're walking into my room and they're one of 2,000 athletes and I'm one Kylie, to know what I can and can't do, maybe what to provide in the med kits or not, things of that nature. But blessing in disguise, maybe, because it allows me to be the artistic athletic trainer that I want to be and really create this program to be beneficial to them. So
then what does game coverage look like for you? Like, because I'm assuming they have like home games or something that would be on campus. Do you cover those?
Yeah, this is another really great question, because that was a big question for me when I was exploring this opportunity. 58 teams, one Kylie. Whew. It was 55 and we added 3. So that's,
wow.
Oh my God.
Yes. So I guess so I want to start with, at the D1 level, there is varsity athletics, which is your D1 sports. You have your team sports, which is like dance, cheer, and in this case, rugby. Then you have your club sports, which is me. And then you have your IM sports, intramural sports, which anybody can join. Club sports is still somewhat funded by the university. Team sports is kind of like a varsity athletics, with just some slight variations. And varsity athletics obviously gets like the whole spiel. So with that, at the club sport level, they are deemed in 1, 2, and 3 on risk level. So comparative of like, that's created by our risk management team. They deem they take into consideration like injuries, contacts, impacts, and a variety of other things to put them in this variety of risk levels. Our highest risk level is required to have EMT and or athletic trainer coverage. Our second risk level is required to have EMT coverage. And then our lowest risk level just has to have like a first aider, which is often one of the safety officers or one of our professional staff or one of the student staff. But with that, getting to your question, my specific role is to do mainly clinic coverage with like a sprinkle of game coverage here and there for some built-in rapport, which I've kind of established. I said I wanted to do this, even though it was maybe adding some hours onto my schedule that week. I wanted to be able to build relationships, find rapport, as we're continuously building the program. But with that, you're like, oh, well, then how do the other teams get covered that are required to have EMT and or ATC coverage? So in years past, they've been using Go for Ellis. I've since reformed this and was like, we need continuity of care. Our athletes deserve continuous conversations, clear instruction. So why don't we hire a group of PRN athletic trainers who are hired through the university that we then supply at one solid price per hour to the teams when these things do happen. So find some consistent people that can like work those. So that is where we are. The teams are required to find their own EMT coverage, which is essentially usually just through university health services, which is pretty easy for them. But when it comes to the athletic trainer, we are trying to push towards this PRN, which just went live for anyone looking for some PRN opportunity.
That's exciting.
But yeah, Go for Alice in the past, but I feel like there's just we could be we could have a more clear line of care, continuity of care if we had our own group and team that could like function within the EMR system, apply a sway baseline or a sway test if someone were to have a concussion, things of that nature.
So yeah, it sounds very institutional based, which is like a blessing and a curse.
Yes.
Yes, because I would say that even some of the teams that are in the risk level 2, I've seen some higher risk injuries happening, and I'm surprised that they weren't the higher risk level, but ultimately allowing me to function in this way. For example, I was allowed to say who was receiving the sway baseline testing. So like this was a team that I've seen concussions with in the past that could be pretty gnarly. So I was like, okay, I want to baseline test them, and they said okay. So pulls and pushes, like just hills and valleys.
Along those lines of the hills and the valleys, what was that experience of creating a club sports program?
So I will say just right off the bat is that definitely being a part of this program is scratching an itch that is enticing to me and exciting. Getting to create custom tables and custom wall art, which is like that like true artist in me. And then be able to combine that with traditional athletic training has been really fun. And then also creating in a D1 environment where football is the thing. Like creating my club sport athletes a place where they can be excited to come and can brag about is really exciting for me. Sorry, just elaborating on like the hills and valleys. So that's definitely scratching an itch, but obviously with anything new and change, people have questions, things arise that may slow you down a bit, but that doesn't mean that it's like the end of the world. It just kind of slows you down a little bit. Like the water in the river isn't like moving in one direction at a fast pace. You hit like a rivet where it's kind of like cross section and you kind of have to like trudge through it, right? Like just kind of working together and collaboratively, as a lot of the people around me don't know the realm of athletic training, and knowing that and meeting them where they're at has made this process not be detrimental when something like that pops up. You know what I mean? It's like, and knowing when they have a question, they've often explored things to try and figure it out themselves. And they've come to me as the professional. I should be grateful that they're asking me that question, if you know what I mean. So, So just knowing that when in the creation of anything, literally anything, not even an athletic training program, there will be hills and valleys, but like the valleys don't have to be the end of the world. Just be optimistic and, be excited about the little victories, and then the big victory doesn't seem so far away, and it just kind of keeps you excited and going and ready for the next couple of days. So
sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You ready for our action item, Randy?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so here on AT Corner, we also like to finish off with an action item that is just something that athletic trainers can take away to their practice today. So if there was someone who would want to start to work with drum corps or start creating a program for a club sports program, how would you recommend, like what advice would you give them, or what recommendations would you give them?
I think we touched on it a little bit throughout, in bits and pieces. It's you're entering uncharted territory. This is a new realm where not everybody's just going to get it. And it's not just is what it is, So being optimistic and channeling that artistic athletic trainer, not being afraid of the word no, finding where you fit and like lift the program up, and really taking that to the moon and comparing it to your traditional settings. That's how I literally get anywhere, is the research done on traditional settings and comparing it to our non-traditional settings, our emerging settings. So the biggest pieces is optimism, channeling your artistic athletic trainer, not being afraid of the word no, finding how you fit and pitch, sell that, and ask the questions that, you may otherwise be afraid of, because ultimately they're not thinking about them, not because they don't care, it's because they don't know. So you're the one who knows. So trust your craft.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Thank you so much for this.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been really, really fun talking with you guys. I've been really excited for this. So thank you.
I think the one thing that really jumps out at this interview is the energy and excitement and passion that Kylie brings to developing her practice with like marching band and just what she brings to the club sport atmosphere. It seems like she's really created a thriving practice in both settings.
And how you can do that with anything that you're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So even like she was talking about the landscaping company, if you can pitch it to someone who's going to take it, I mean, that's what I did with the dance company I'm working with. So, you know, you just got to show that you have value, and there you go.
Yeah. See, like you said, you can take something away even if you're not in those settings or interested in those settings.
That's something that I love about this. Is going to be a total sidetrack, but I feel like that's something that I love about this podcast, because I feel like we have talked to people I probably would have never talked to before. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something you can learn from every person, even if you don't like them. Like, I think there's something you can learn from everyone, and differing perspectives and differing views and differing settings and differing ideas and differing backgrounds. And there's just so much you don't know, and you don't know how much you don't know.
For sure. 100%.
So click on that podcast episode that you weren't going to listen to. Although if you made it to the end here, I'm pretty sure
you're locked in.
But anyway, if you're new here, we do lots of different episodes. We don't just do interviews. We do education episodes where we take, actually they're good for CEUs. Randy takes a bunch of research articles that he reads, synthesizes them. We talk about them conversationally. They're good for CEUs, thanks to our partner, Clinically Pressed, and our partner, Athletic Training Chat. It's been really awesome working with them. So we're appreciative to have those back, category A. We also have story episodes where we have stories from real life athletic trainers about various topics, and we kind of bring those together and talk about, again, those differing opinions, differing views, differing ways to manage things, situations that different people have had. Those are really fun. We do some BOC episodes that are just basically like topics of something you might see on an exam, and talk about them in real life and how they present and how they're different from the textbook, how they're the same. There's a lot. We've been doing this is our 6th year now.
Yeah.
So there's something for everyone. And if there's anything you ever want to listen to, just shoot us an email or send us a DM on Instagram, and we'll try to get back to that, try to cover that. So I think that's all I have.
Thank you for helping us showcase athlete training behind the tape. Bye.